welcome aboard the MS Rhapsody of the Seas.
I said, I'm going to bed. She said, I think I'm going to stay out here with all the fresh air and the wind, and I don't want to go inside a little cabin and, be closed in. So I said, all right, I'm going to go inside. So I told her I love her. That's the last thing I ever said to her.
The cruise ship was pulling into the port of Curacao. It was early morning hours of March 24th, 1998.
We really just talked about what we were potentially going to do the next day when we got to Curacao, and talking about, maybe going jet skiing or doing this or that.
Fun excursions that never came to fruition. Amy disappeared. The Netherlands Antilles Coast Guard searched the ship's path and surrounding water for 4 days, speculating the Chesterfield County woman may have fallen overboard and drowned. But her brother Brad says he knows that's not the case.
The door was open where it hadn't been before, about 18 inches or so, and she wasn't there. One of the shirt that she had on was laid across one of the chairs in the room. The cruise line's key card system doesn't register when you leave the room. It only registers when you use a key to come back in.
The Bradley family still riding a wave of emotions.
Obviously, losing my sister has been really tough and emotional, and but watching my parents go through that was some of the hardest stuff. And even to this day, certain topics of conversation, it's a wrap with the emotions. Mom and Dad have a hard time, and I don't think that ever changes.
Investigators, both hired private and FBI agents, follow leads as tips come in for possible sightings, and there have been several at separate times throughout the 27 years.
That night, I saw Amy and this guy that worked on the boat.
Several theories: abduction and human trafficking, fallen overboard and drowned, or a rendezvous with a bass player from the cruise ship's cover band circling in and out of this cold case like the changing of a tide. Brother Brad believes the band member knows something he's not telling, and the FBI has questioned him.
I was sitting by the pool on the top deck, and exasperated and kind of in shock, and realizing the reality of what was happening. He came up, and the first thing he said to me, and keep in mind this is before any announcements were made publicly, said, "I'm sorry to hear about your sister."
The Bradleys believe the Netflix docuseries will bring millions of viewers from around the world, hoping with that comes new information that will lead them to their loved one, Amy Lynn Bradley.
It feels like last week and 100 years ago at the same time. We keep on plugging away and following every lead and chasing every sighting and doing everything we can do. Every time we do a news story, it kind of redredges all the emotions and the stories and the memories and all that kind of thing. And it's tough, but it's necessary, if we're not going to give up looking for her. While my parents are still looking and talking to other people, I'm sitting at a table by myself, adjacent to where the pool was, and realizing that this is bad.
It's a mystery that has haunted a Central Virginia family for more than a quarter century. In the spring of 1998, a young woman named Amy Bradley took a Caribbean cruise with her parents and brother. Early one morning, she vanished without a trace. Now, Amy's story is the subject of a new Netflix docuseries. Today, we sit down with her brother, the one who went on that cruise, for a captivating interview about the strange and disorienting days that followed the disappearance, the theories as to what really happened, and why he is convinced that his sister is still out there all these years later. Well, welcome to Untold. We are here with Brad Bradley. Thank you so much for being here. I know you've been making the rounds.
It's okay. Thank you for having me.
Doing a lot of media on this story. As we've set up in our intro, you are the brother of Amy Bradley, the subject of a recent Netflix documentary. And we're going to get into it today. We're going to talk about the story of how your sister went missing, and also the theories of whether she may be out there. Maybe she's alive. Maybe she was kidnapped. Maybe she left willfully. Maybe she didn't. Lots of unanswered questions, but I think you're probably one of the best people to speculate on what's real in this story. So if you've watched the Netflix documentary, you are now getting the untold version, the behind-the-scenes version. And we'll start out, just tell us sort of the scenario of this cruise. It was 1998. It was a family trip. Mm-hmm. Everybody was excited.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a family trip initially. My parents work in the insurance business, and they had qualified through their production for the year for a trip, for a cruise. It was like a prize for
a bonus.
For their work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So initially, Amy and I were not included in that prize. My mom and dad kind of went above and beyond to make sure that we could come with them. They got special permission. They were granted that permission. Now I'm sure they kicked themselves for having done so. But yeah, so it wasn't like a family trip that was personally arranged and all that. But anyway, we were invited to go with them. Both of us very excited. I know there's been some reports I've seen online. There's plenty of misinformation online about how Amy felt about going on the cruise. I can assure you we were both excited. I had been on a cruise a couple years prior. A buddy of mine and I in high school went on a volleyball beach cruise and had a fantastic time.
You were 21 and she was 23
Correct.
At this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we, Mom and Dad told us that they had gotten permission for us to come with them. We're all in right away. Now, Amy and I had some reservations because neither of us like to fly, so we knew we had to get there. But we're like, we're doing,
Game
definitely on. We're on.
Yeah.
And then Amy was not a fan of the ocean or being in it. She was a longtime swimmer, as we both were. She coached the swim team. She was a lifeguard. She was proficient in the water. But you put her in the ocean, and she's scared to death of what's in the water that she can't see.
Sharp objects, all kinds of other...
I mean, you step on a crab, and she's going to lose her mind.
Yeah.
So, she would never go in the water, very deep. If she did, she'd be hanging on somebody, so she didn't touch the bottom and all that kind of stuff. So she didn't like the ocean, but she decided, big deal. We're not going to be in the water. We're on a boat. So my parents flew down earlier than us because they had already had different plane tickets, and we had to get separate tickets. So she and I flew down together from Richmond to Miami, from Miami to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and had a great time talking on the plane about what we were going to be doing. Since I had a prior cruise, like Amy looked at me like I was a cruise expert, and
right.
Which I certainly wasn't. But she was asking me a lot of questions about what kind of things we're going to be doing, and I'm like, I really don't know. I've not been to these islands. So, we're listening to music on the way down. We're sharing stories. We're having a good time. And we get to San Juan. We board the boat. Super exciting. It's huge. I think at the time it was one of the largest cruise ships in the world. Now it's by far not. But,
right.
We do the whole muster drill, and everybody's in their life jackets and the roll call and the whole thing. So that everybody was very excited. We were
right.
having a great time.
And things were going perfectly fine, perfectly normal. One night, the two of you decide to stay out a little bit late and have fun in a nightclub on the boat.
Yeah, so, day one, you're at sea.
Right.
And, we're on the boat. We're messing around in the casino. We have dinners with, everybody, my parents' coworkers, and, just having a good time waiting to get to the first island. We get to Aruba, which is the first stop. We get off on Aruba, and instead of hanging around on the pretty beaches, which are very few, by the way, you think of Aruba as this like Caribbean paradise. If you get off the beaten track, you're in the desert with wild dogs and wild goats and tumbleweeds and cliffs, and not a pretty place. So, but we decided to rent a small SUV and go explore. We get lost, and we're in a convertible, open-top, small SUV, kind of like an Isuzu Sidekick kind of thing, and we're getting burned to death by the sun. We don't know where we are. We don't know where we're going. we're out there for like an hour and a half, turned around backwards, and we're joking like we're going to die here in the desert. We're not going to make it. So it's this whole, we're all kind of laughing nervously about if we're going to get back to the boat on time and all this stuff. So we finally make it back. We get on the boat. You'll see the clip of me passed out like a zombie.
That was right after that
we got back from
voyage.
that
Okay.
sunburning.
Got it.
And so later, after we had kind of napped it off, we get ready for the formal dinner.
Right.
So, I had a tux, and Amy had her nice dress, and we all got dressed up and go to dinner. Had a nice time. On the cruise, there was special attention from our personal wait staff toward Amy. And we joked around the table like, hey, if anybody needs any refills or extra butter, just tell them Amy wants it, and it'll be it'll be right here. So, we did that formal dinner. After that, we took pictures, which later disappeared mysteriously when we went to pick them up. They were gone. But we got, after the formal, we went back to the room, changed out of our formals, and got ready for the pool party. So there was supposed to be this big, thing up on the pool deck where there was dancers and music and performers and drinks and all this kind of stuff. So we got dressed for that, went up to the pool deck where essentially everybody was. It was loaded down, and having drinks, eating food, listening to music. There was a limbo contest that
you won.
I ended up winning. Yeah, it was hilarious. But so
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So we're all just joking around, having a good time. And during that pool party, we were going up to the band called Blue Orchid, for which Yellow was the bass player, requesting songs. And they were taking requests, and they say, "Oh, we don't know that one. Okay, we'll do that one." And we're back.
Yellow, just for clarification, is the bass player's nickname.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, Alistair Douglas, who now apparently goes by Christopher Douglas for some unknown reason. So fast forward, my mom and dad decide it's about midnight or whatever. Pool party's coming to an end, so they walk over to tell Amy, "Hey, we're going to go to bed. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow." She said, "We'll love you too." Okay. So they go to bed, they tell me goodnight, and Amy and I, everybody kind of shifted up to the dance club, who was going to stay up. And so we left the pool party, we go up to what they referred to as the disco lounge, I think.
Well, it's been a big week for Untold. Our latest episode on Amy Bradley got more than 500,000 views on YouTube alone. That's not even including Spotify, Apple, any other places you get your podcasts. So we know that people really are interested and invested in the story, and we're going to keep going with it. This week, we're bringing on another guest, another person who was on the boat with Amy Bradley, another person that is connected to her family, connected to this story, and her brother Brad actually gave us the recommendation to track this guy down. His name is Chris Fenwick, and he lives in California, and he is the one that provided the video of Amy that is shown in the Netflix docuseries of her on the dance floor the night before she disappeared. She is on that dance floor with a guy some people consider the prime suspect in this case. So the video is super significant and has been played many, many times on Unsolved Mysteries on the Netflix docuseries. It's been out there. This guy was the one who was tasked with capturing that footage, and he has a lot to say about it. Not only about the video itself and his impressions and his experiences on that cruise ship, but also about the journey that this video took. Now, he says some things to us that he has not said on the docuseries. Some things that will surprise you, shock you, maybe even outrage you. One of the things that was most surprising was that he said the FBI, who was investigating this case at the time, actively looking into any possibility of where Amy Bradley could be, never asked for the video then, and still hasn't asked for the video from him until this day.
So did the FBI ever call you?
No.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, it wasn't for another 6 months that I contacted the FBI and I said, "Hey, this Amy Bradley story? Well, I have video of her dancing with the prime suspect." And he goes, "Okay, we'll give this to the head of the case." And that was the last I ever heard.
That story is coming up on Untold. I hope you guys will tune in again and stay plugged in. Thanks.
So, and as an added detail, your photographer, Bob, wasn't the only videographer working with you. You contracted one through the boat as well, right?
What was interesting, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So what was interesting is we didn't really 100% know what we were getting into. And as a contingency, to be safe, we had the company that I was working for had contracted with the boat company to get access to their onboard videographer. Because much like I was making a video to remind our employees about what a great time they were having, as it turns out, the boat company, they do the same thing. And they have a staff videographer. He's got a very well-equipped edit suite. He's got nice cameras. He's got all the cool gear. And he runs around and every week shoots a video. Now, I don't know that they still do this in the 21st century, since everybody has a TV studio in their pocket with their smartphones.
Right.
But back then in the 90s, he runs around, makes this video, and then he makes it available for purchase, because everything costs money on a cruise ship. He makes it available for purchase that you could buy at the end of the trip, and it's another way for people to remember their trip on the boat.
So this guy was working in tandem with you. His name was Steve, I believe.
Yeah, his name was Steve. I actually happen to have a picture of Steve here. This was just a very bad photo. I apologize.
It's okay.
From the trip. And this is Bob. This was my camera guy. And this is some of our camera gear and stuff.
Yep.
Again,
look at that. And those are those cases. You guys had to lug all of that on board?
Oh, yeah.
So you guys, Steve, who works for the cruise line, and Bob
yep.
are running around the boat. You're shooting video. You're capturing everybody. Your goal is obviously to capture this company's employees having fun, but you're capturing video of everyone enjoying themselves. So let's.
And to be clear, just a slight point of clarification.
Sure.
I don't believe that Steve ever provide, and I could be wrong. I don't think he ever provided actual video footage to me for the edit. My video was made almost entirely, of Bob's footage, and I never touched cameras. I didn't shoot any video at all. I'm just the editor.
So he was
just to be clear.
Was he just sort of assisting generally then with your production?
Yeah. So like I said, we on occasion were using the ship's theater, and he just helped us integrate and find our way and get to the right.
Where does this plug
door
into, and what about this malt box or whatever? Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Got it. So let's get to the night of the disappearance and the night at the disco. That is sort of the central part of your video that became widely circulated, and again in the Netflix docuseries. What was that night's activity looking like? Where were you? What were you doing when you started filming?
So that night there had been some festivities on the pool deck, and then there was a lot of people going to the dance club, and on that particular boat, it was on the 10th deck, I believe it was 10th or 11th, 10th. And at some point during that night, I went up to the deck, to the dance club, again, tapes and batteries for Bob. And on that particular time, I think I got to him and he goes, give me a few minutes. I still have some to burn on this tape. So I sat down and got myself a soda, and just overlooking, the dance club, I specifically remember seeing Amy and her brother Brad dancing. And I did not know Amy. I did not know Brad. I did not know their names. But they were like, it was almost like, remember that movie Footloose when they're dancing in the middle and there's a whole crowd of people standing around watching them? Like, that's what it kind of was. I mean, Amy and Brad were the center of attention for whatever reason.
They were having a
And,
blast, it sounds like.
They were.
Yeah.
I've told Brad since then. I go, watching you guys together was very joyful. It was very joyful. So I sat there, and Bob motioned me over. I swapped out my tapes and batteries, and that was that. He stayed behind to shoot more. I go back to my room, and I work. And at the end of the night, he comes and gives me his last tapes, and that was that. That was it for that night.
What time did you guys wrap up? Were you there close to the end? Were you there till like 1?
I don't specifically remember. I know that, and I only know this from talking to the Bradleys, that I think Brad has told me that they didn't even go to the dance club until like 1 a.m.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that. Brad knows better. And I know that I saw Brad and Amy in the nightclub. So whatever time they got there, I didn't go there until after that time. And I believe I have heard, again, don't quote me. Actually, you're recording me, so you're going to quote me, whatever. I believe the club shut down at like 3 a.m.
Okay.
Okay. So that's about what time it is. And I know, and again, in hindsight, the footage of Amy dancing with, we don't necessarily want to go there, with Yellow happened after I had been there, because I had only seen Amy dancing with her brother, Brad.
Okay. And you didn't at this point think anything seemed out of control or strange or off or sinister? Like there wasn't anything that like on your radar was like, this is a little weird, or nothing like that?
But again,
you weren't looking through the lens, right?
I only saw Amy and Brad together. I didn't see Amy dancing with Yellow.
Okay. And so you go back to your very small stateroom and continue the hermit life, life you're living, and the photographer stays, and then, because clearly this Yellow footage was captured after you left, did Bob sense anything in seeing the video the first time, like not knowing who these people were, or was he just sort of on
That's
the
an
job?
interesting question. Nobody's ever asked, Katie. I will have to reach out to Bob and ask him that. That's
Okay.
very interesting. I don't think so.
Okay.
I know that eventually, as this story unfolds, we all, myself, Bob, and the 2 producers that we were working for, we all knew of the footage, because eventually I told them the rest of the story that you and I haven't gotten to yet.
Right.
But I don't believe that Bob ever sensed anything that night, like, oh boy, this creepy guy was dancing with this girl. I don't believe any of that ever came up.
It seems that no one did, and that's why I ask. It just sort of seems like it was generally a pretty expected night on a cruise. People having a good time, people like letting their hair down, dancing, whatever, but not, there wasn't any indication that something bad was going to happen, or there was shadiness of any kind.
It's been a very long time since I let my hair down, but yes. I
Well, some people. So I just wonder, if there was anybody who might have been like, this is strange, but it doesn't seem like that was the case. I mean, even when Brad was here, I mean, he said the same. He said, basically I was over here talking to some girls. She went over to the dance floor and linked up with Yellow, and I wasn't even looking in her general direction, because we were just, having a good time, and there didn't seem to be any threat of any kind. So it didn't seem like anybody was on high alert or thinking like this could go badly. Everybody's too drunk and shouldn't be here, or
you bring up an interesting thing, high alert. And this is a recurring theme. I think that one of the big takeaways about this story is that people need to be on high alert. There is the sense that you're in this idyllic, Disneyland-esque safe place. out in the middle of the ocean. And when you're on a cruise ship, that's the furthest thing from the truth.
You get that phone call, and it's heartbreaking. And, so I knew shortly then after that I had to do everything I could. It dawned on me. I said, if the roles had been reversed and I died on that cruise ship, Ashley would have fought like a tiger to find out what happened and all the details. So how could I do any less? And so that's what I began to do. And then I started to realize, I got to do everything I can so that I can help make sure no one else ever has to get that phone call that I got.
I can't imagine. I'm so sorry. I'm sure it feels like, it was 20 years ago, but I imagine it feels like it just happened, especially given the fact that Amy Bradley's story has been out there and getting, a lot of attention and a lot of conversation. I'm sure is this stirring you in all of those ways? I imagine it is.
It does, but it's just like I said. You just imagine 20 years of working and trying to get this word out about the fact that something needs to be done.
We need to get comfortable with sticking up for people that need help. And if that's what comes out of Amy's story, it's going to be good for a lot of people. I still want Amy to come home. I still want to hop in my car and drive to the Bradley's house and celebrate the day that Amy gets to, climb into her Miata and drive it again. I want that more than anything. And like Iva says to Ron, and Ron says to Iva every night, maybe tomorrow. Maybe we'll find her tomorrow. Maybe she'll come home tomorrow. I want that too. Sorry.
You don't have to be sorry. I can tell how impacted you still are all these years later.
I've told this story. I said to Ari after the interview on Netflix, he goes, wow, you did a good job. You tell that story really well. And I said, it doesn't help that I've been telling it for a quarter of a century. It's been a long time. It's too long.
So did the FBI ever call you?
No.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, it wasn't for another 6 months that I contacted the FBI and I said, hey, this Amy Bradley story? Well, I have video of her dancing with the prime suspect. And he goes, okay, we'll give this to the head of the case. And that was the last I ever heard.
So I
never heard.
You never got a call back. You never got a request. You never got a subpoena for they're probably the one agency that could compel you to give up your master tapes if they really wanted to. They could get a court order. Yeah.
I would have made a digital dub and given them a copy of it and said, yeah, it's the master.
This is the master. Yes. But just saying they might have been the one who could actually have made that demand with some legal grounds.
But they never contacted me. And I don't know how the FBI eventually ever even saw the footage, to be honest with you.